consider yourself normal? Then this is not the show for you. Please go somewhere else. This is WYRD. If it's getting weird, it's got to be the Weird Mountain Gals Show. You're listening to Byron and Alicia, the Weird Mountain Gals.
No. Oh, that's how you knock with an accent, with a Scottish accent.
Yeah, you have to knock with a Scottish accent.
Yes, I really like that. Quite talented, aren't you?
I'm very talented. Never doubt.
Oh, no.
How you doing, girlfriend?
I'm doing okay. I am looking forward to some stories. I want to know how it went. I want to know, did you do anything unexpected? Just tell me everything. And how the heck did you break the airport at Heathrow?
Oh, my gosh. Well, I guess I'll start with that. Well, Let me talk about first how the airport was already broken in Charlotte.
Uh-oh.
So our flight was supposed to leave at, let's say 9:30. I don't remember exactly, 9:30 p.m. Because the whole thing about flying to Britain is you want to get a flight that flies overnight.
Okay.
So you can sleep and then you wake up and tra-la, there you are. Because the flight is about 8 hours long.
That makes sense.
So you could theoretically get a good night's sleep and land there feeling pretty rested.
Yeah, in theory.
Well, so Charlotte was late, and then they decided, no, there was something wrong. No, there's something wrong with the aircraft. It's going to be another 20 minutes. It's going to be another 15 minutes. It's going to be another 30 minutes. Oh, wow. It just kept going on. And I think we finally left there about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, my gosh.
Which meant that, of course, we had missed our connecting flight to Edinburgh. So everything was already a little bit funky when we got to Heathrow. And they were saying, okay, we know a lot of y'all have missed your connecting flight. So just go up out of the plane, get out of the plane, go up the gangway, and there'll be some people in purple vests, and they're just going to hand you the boarding card for the next flight that we have already booked you on. We've already booked you on the next connecting flight.
And this was at which airport?
Heathrow in London.
Okay.
So, of course, there's nobody in purple vests when we get there, but that's okay. There's obviously people who work there. And you have to show your ID, and then they hand you a piece of paper that is not a boarding card. Okay. It's just a piece of paper that has the flight information on it. So then you got to go off this way. And you got to go through and get your boarding card at these particular places so you can go through their airport security. So we get to the place, and the nice man, their security is so much more complex than ours is in this country, but it runs more smoothly. Oh, hell yes. Because here, I'm not even going to talk about that. Okay. So we get there, and they got to scan your face. They do a facial recognition scan. Yeah. They have to see your passport. They have to see the piece of paper that the feller gave me. They got to do all that stuff. So he does all that stuff. Then he's printing out the boarding passes. And he pulls one out, and he goes, oh, no, the printer's broke. Oh, okay. So he puts the boarding pass inside my passport, hands it to me, and he says, okay, now the other one has to go to the very next desk, and they'll print yours out there. Oh, okay. That's not a problem. So we go to the next desk, and my friend Annie that I'm traveling with said, I'm just going to stand in line here and get my boarding pass. You go on through and just wait for me on the other side. Now, we've got a fast connection. Okay. We got to get to the next gate fast, and Heathrow's a big airport. Okay. So I go there, and I put my 2 feet where they have little feet on the floor. You put your 2 feet on those. Yeah. You look up, you take off your glasses, you lower your mask, They do facial recognition. You put in your passport. Wow. You put in your, I probably shouldn't be saying all this. You should just crow it all out. Then you put in your boarding pass and little doors open and you walk through. And there you are through security.
Okay.
And then I looked at the boarding pass and it wasn't mine.
Oh, no.
So I turned around. There was a man there. Fortunately, there was a human being. And I said, I have a problem. I have her boarding pass. And he said, what? So I had somehow gotten through their security system with somebody else's boarding pass after facial recognition, all this other stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did you have Annie's boarding pass or just some random person?
No, I had Annie's. Annie's boarding pass. So it didn't, anyway, it's f***ed up.
Do y'all look alike?
No, not really. And that,
And was that going there or coming back home?
No, it was going there.
Okay.
So then this fella came over because they're just all, oh my God, what? How do we, what? So this fella comes over and he goes, no. I mean, how'd this happen? I'll fix it. And there's a woman over at the far gate who's saying, is this what you need to do? And she told him, and he did the wrong thing. And she said, well, did you push the button? And he said, I pushed 2 buttons. And she said, I didn't tell you to do that. So I'm not going to go into any more details because I don't want to, hurt any of that. Anyway, it took another 10 minutes for them because the system shut down because he pushed the wrong button.
Oh my gosh.
So they had to bring another big wig in and he had to straighten it all out. And then finally we had to make a run for it. And then we had to go through security again. To get on the plane. And we were within, we just knew we were going to miss the connecting flight and then we were going to have to rebook. And we were talking about maybe we should just take the train up to Edinburgh and all this other stuff. And then mercifully, that connecting flight was also delayed. So for once, it worked in our favor. And so we got to Edinburgh, and after that, everything was smooth and wonderful, and the hotel was great, and the hotel staff was great, and I'm so spoiled by public transportation that I come back here, and I'm just like, God damn, it's like a third world country here.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
So anyway, any of that you need to crow it out, because I don't know how much of that I should say. But it was funny. I thought it was funny. They didn't think it was funny.
I would think that you could say all of it because you're not really giving away any security things.
I don't think so. I think that's the way it goes pretty much everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me if you would. What was the weather like?
It was perfect. We had one day of a little bit of spattery rain. And another day that was kind of rainy. So if it was rainy, we just planned to do something inside. And we both had raincoats, so it wasn't a problem.
That's cool.
Well, and the temperature was perfect. It wasn't too cold because we were doing a lot of walking.
Tell me about this museum you got to talk at. I didn't know you were going to do that.
It is a brand new museum on the Royal Mile called the Museum of Witchcraft, Divination. Oh gosh, I can't remember the whole name of it. But we can put a link to it in the. And it was great. And I knew the fellow that started it, so I heard about it starting up. And I sent him a Facebook message, and I said, "I'm going to be in Scotland. I'm going to be in Edinburgh in a few weeks." And I can't wait to see the museum. So he and I were talking back and forth, and it came up with me doing a little. I was the very first person to give a talk at the museum, and I gave a talk about the comparison with Appalachian folk magic and Scottish folk magic. It was it's a tiny little place. I was going to say it was well attended. It was standing room only, but that was only about 20, 22 people. It wasn't a whole lot of people, but they were great. It was a great audience. They had a lot of stuff to talk about. They were enthusiastic. So it was wonderful. And I recorded it. I did a Facebook Live once he had, because he did it as an Eventbrite and he charged for it. So I didn't want anybody Yeah, I didn't want anybody to have the excuse of, well, Byron said on Facebook that she was going to do a Facebook Live, so I didn't do it till the very last minute so that he could get as much money off of it, as he needed to.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now, and it's showing a fella now. Was his name Ash Miller?
Yes, it is.
Ash Miller. Wow.
Funny little man.
This is, wow, yeah, and it's, there are several articles about it.
It was everywhere. There was one on what is it called? The Wild Hunt had one.
Uh-huh.
And then there were several of them in the papers around the area in Scotland.
Yeah. Well, this is, it's the Museum of Magic, Fortune Telling, and Witchcraft. That's what they called it in the Edinburgh Live website.
That's the real name.
Mm-hmm. And it says it'll look at the history of witchcraft in Scotland and beyond. And it looks like a fairly long article. And there's a bunch of other things about it. Just doing a simple Google search.
Uh-huh.
That's really cool. That's really seriously cool.
And let me just give the pitch for it too. It's a really good museum. It's small, but it's got a lot of really interesting artifacts in it.
It's also, according to Daily Record, it says it's the first witchcraft museum in Scotland, and that it displays all kinds of unique things. It says it's going to display mummified objects. It's going to display let's see what. Oh yeah, all kind of like here's a mummified cat that's 200 years old, and it talks about how they integrate in with the beliefs of the time, and so it looks really. I can't wait to look at the website itself, the real website for it.
It's good, and everybody in Scotland that we encountered, everybody without exception was nice and pleasant and helpful and friendly.
Mm.
And so it felt like how it used to be here. So that if you came up going, oh, I'm on the wrong bus, rather than saying, well, then get off, stupid. You should have figured that out beforehand. Everybody would help.
Well,
the bus driver would help.
I just want to hear you say, well, get off, stupid.
Well, that's what would happen here. Just get off. Yeah. Anyway, so it was. I got to tell you, it was hard coming back here.
Was it?
Just after the level of, because Edinburgh is the capital, but it's also a tourist town, just like Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they treat tourists like they're happy to have them there.
Well,
because they have the infrastructure for that level of tourism.
That makes a difference.
We do not have.
Which is on our part doesn't show a lot of good sense because Asheville's always been a tourist town. This has always been a tourist area. Always. I just always didn't have such an influx of tourists that we couldn't handle it. We wanted it. We needed it. In the past, it was the second biggest form of income for us during a few decades there, but it's uncontrolled. And when it gets like that, it's no longer good for anybody on any side.
I tell you what, it's good for some people that are making money. It's good for those people.
It's good for the folks who own hotels and tourist-driven places, where they make money from the numbers as opposed to any other way. But, it just, the road, I don't even need to get started on it. So I want to talk about your trip anyway. That's far more interesting to me. Where did you go besides the places that you worked? I know you visited a few places. Tell me about it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, we went to the National Museum of Scotland twice.
Wow.
And we did the tourist things. We did the Royal Mile. We did Holyrood House. And Annie did the castle. Now, I had just done the castle last time I was there, so I didn't feel like I needed to do it again.
Yeah.
and St. Giles Cathedral. I mean, all the little funny shops, and it was just it's a delightful town.
Yeah.
And there's lots of pubs, of course, which I love. Tea shops, which was fun too. But there were a lot of people. I'm sorry for the cuckoo.
Oh, I love it.
There were. I don't know, it's just a delightful place to be. And then we went out to see Stirling Castle.
Yeah.
Which was a train ride out. We went out to see the Rosslyn Chapel, which again, that was a bus trip. And we had, and it was, we did the tram, we did buses, we did the train, we took a taxi one time. So we did, and obviously the airplane that got us there. So we did a lot of stuff, a lot of different modes of transportation. Let's see what else we did.
Did you go to any graveyards? They have supposedly some beautiful.
No, we didn't, because the one day we were down where that beautiful old graveyard is, which I go to every time I'm in Scotland. It was rainy and misty that day, and we decided on the museum instead.
Well, that's probably wise. You don't want to come home sick.
We didn't want to tramp all over, potentially muddy ground and scuff the place up. Yeah, Stirling Castle is right outside of that is where they fought the Battle of Bannockburn, which is a pretty significant battle in the War of Independence. And it was beautiful. It's a beautiful castle. We got a great tour. That was fun. Rosslyn Chapel was. Here's the funny thing about Rosslyn Chapel. As often as I've been to Scotland, I'd never seen it before. But of course, I read articles about it and seen documentaries and all that stuff. It's a really quirky, private. It was a private chapel.
Right.
And now it is part of the Anglican Communion. So it's an Episcopal church, basically.
Yeah. And
the inside has these astounding carvings, but you can't make any pictures in there. No. So here's what sometimes happens in places like that have been holy places, and then they become sort of tourist destinations, is that you don't feel any of the holiness of the place anymore.
Right.
But this is still a church. Still a church. So people come there on Sunday, and they have a priest that comes in from Edinburgh to do it for them. And so because it is still a working church, it felt like a church. Like when you go into St. Lawrence downtown here, and it's very beautiful, but it feels like a church. It feels like a place where people come and pray. Yeah. And that's how this felt. It didn't feel like this is a world-class monument. It is art and culture. It still is. It's a working house of God, for lack of a better phrase. Mm-hmm. And that really impressed me because you feel it.
Yeah.
You just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend people seeing that if you get to Edinburgh. It's just a brief bus ride out, and we had a beautiful day.
Very nice. Well, tell me about the Basilica of St. Lawrence. No, tell me about.
Well, I can tell you that Raphael Guastavino, the great architect. I used to know a fellow who was all about Guastavino, and really? He and I worked with his sister, and anytime he'd show up, like to take her to lunch or something, I just would love to talk to him. He knew everything about. Well, he knew he's a Guastavino freak, so he knew everything about Guastavino. That was interesting.
Well, had he ever been to the Basilica?
Of course he had. Yeah, he was here in Asheville taking his sister to lunch. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
1905 is when it opened, and it was. At least I'm pretty sure that's when it was, and. It was, Guastavino also designed for the Biltmore estate, which I'm sure you remember that, or I'm sure you already knew that. That's kind of common knowledge around here. But the inside of the basilica itself is so beautiful, and that's got a lot to do with it. Guastavino is actually interred in there, is my understanding of it. And he was wanting his wife and child to be interred there, and they weren't for some reason that I can't remember. And part of the reason that it's so beautiful in there is because they have all these old artifacts, I guess you would call them, architectural artifacts, things that they bought or were given to them from Europe, all over Europe, other churches and things of that nature. And so it's just it's a beautiful place to go, and and it smells good, and there are always people who are out there praying on either side. They have the sanctuary in the middle, which there's a term for all of these things, and I don't remember them. And then they've got the one over to the left, which is dedicated to Virgin Mary. And so they've got all those kind of relics, and not really relics, excuse me. They've got all of those artifacts over there to Mary on that side. And then on the right-hand side, it's just kind of a more standard Catholic place to go and pray in semi-private. And the acoustics there, dang. I mean,
have you, we sang in the basement one year, and boy, you need to check out the acoustics there.
In the basement of the Basilica?
Yeah, crazy good.
I've been and listened and probably sung a little myself upstairs beside the organ, on either side of the organ. And I remember just getting chills from it. And of course, I like the echoey sound when it's kind of somewhat empty. And you walk in, and every step you make echoes. Yeah. So that's the oldest thing we've got, really, of that nature around Asheville. But when you go to a place like Scotland, that's nothing.
I got so spoiled. It would be like, oh, that's just a Victorian building. Well, I saw a building from the 14th century yesterday.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely stunning stuff, I'll bet. And so tell me about the restaurants. I want to know, how did you eat? Did you eat the food of the Scottish people, or did you stick to American food? Or
Oh my God, no, of course I didn't. American food, gross.
I didn't think you would, but I didn't know for sure.
Scottish food is not so different really from Appalachian food. I mean, because we basically are Scots.
Yeah.
A couple times removed.
Yeah.
So, yes, I ate a lot of haggis. I ate black pudding. I had a couple of what they call a full Scottish breakfast, which is it's haggis and black pudding and rashers of bacon and poached eggs and beans and tomatoes. Oh. And, it's a big old breakfast, and it's hard to eat all of it.
It's a farmer's breakfast.
Yeah, but they had a little menu card of all the things you could order for breakfast. And each day I had a different thing. So I had kippers for breakfast one day. That was good. We were lucky, not lucky. I mean, Annie picked out a really nice hotel that had a bar on the first floor.
Yeah.
So we could come in of the evening and then go down there and have a drink and then just walk right upstairs to our room. That was very nice.
Yes. Yeah, that would be.
Anyway, so I ate all kinds of things like kippers for breakfast, and then I just ate pretty sensibly.
That's smart and rare for people who travel. Use it as an excuse.
Well, I used it as an excuse too to eat a lot of stuff I don't normally eat, but we were walking a lot every day, so I feel like I got my as the oldsters say, I feel like I got my steps in.
Well, you probably did. And so you can eat a little extra when you do stuff like that. Yeah, you don't have to, but you can.
I got on the scales this morning, and I hadn't gained or lost any weight, so I guess that's okay.
That's perfect. So I have to ask you, please don't laugh, okay? I don't know what kippers are. I've never been exposed to kippers.
They are smoked fish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they
like
were
sardines?
No, more like smoked trout.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not so tiny and bony. They've got a little meat.
No, they're like fish size.
Fish-sized fish. That's a healthy way to eat, I imagine. It's not fried, is it?
No, it's smoked. Oh, no, it was tasty.
Tasty.
For what it's worth, it was very tasty.
Did you see a lot of tartans?
Oh, Lord, yes. So many tartans.
I went and looked in the tartan shop after you had talked about it last time, and about your clan's tartan. And I was looking around, and I looked up the Boyd tartan, and I thought it was okay. It was fine. But
maybe was that the ancient Boyd tartan?
No, I don't think.
Pretty awful looking.
I mean, it just was what it was. To me, they're just a Scottish plaid look.
Right.
So because I'm unsophisticated. When you traveled, did you connect twice or just the one time? You went from Charlotte to Philly to Scotland?
No, going out there, it was Charlotte to London to Edinburgh. Coming back, it was Edinburgh to London to Philly to Charlotte.
Oof. Boy.
It was a long day.
That sounds like a long day. Well, is there anything in particular that you want to tell us about the trip that you think the Weirdlings or some of the folks who listen would be real interested in?
Well, I was really trying to stay in touch with the Weirdlings and some other folks that are having some issues, health issues, job issues. Tried to stay in touch with all of that. But I've made some big decisions that I'm not going to disclose just yet.
Sure.
About the way my life is going to be different.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yes,
that's all right. That is definitely okay, Miss Byron. You are a lot of things to a lot of people, and you have been for long enough to where people kind of expect things. I'm trying to be nice about this, okay? Where people expect you to be there and all of that. And sometimes maybe they need to do things on their own and not just expect you to be there to start it, to make it happen.
And there's lots and lots of people that I love. And there's an awful lot of people that depend on me that are also people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also people who have come to depend on me that I don't even know. And I'm just going to have to, put that tip back in my blouse because it's people can't stand on their own if they're always waiting for me to fix something for them.
That is definitely true. And it's not like you'll ever stop. I think as long as you have a breath to draw, you're going to be helping folks. That's just who you are. Yeah.
It is good. I'm really going to work hard to get people to help themselves a little more, because if you help yourself more, then you are going to be able to help your community and help grow your community and raise it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, we're just not seeing a lot of that.
We're still seeing people who are traumatized from the pandemic and the results of that, not to mention some political trauma.
Yes, we are seeing all of that, and we are seeing people that are scared of their own damn shadow.
Oh, yeah, we're seeing that too. And I think sometimes it's because they have this feeling of anxiety and they sense that things could go horribly wrong.
And they can. I mean, that's really the point, isn't it? That we don't know. Things can go horribly wrong, and sometimes they do. But we can't sit around trembling in fear waiting for that to happen.
Well, we can.
Because, you can, but there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Right. All it does is give you a bad quality of life.
Yeah, if you're waiting for some scary, what you think is an inevitability, well, I can't help you. I want you to get off your lazy behind, get some work done. I just do. I'm not taking excuses anymore from people.
I get it. Well, that's fine. You see, there comes a point where you have to be done. And you've reached it, evidently.
Evidently, I have. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And, 6 months from now, because right now I am well rested. I've slept well every night. Mm-hmm. I ate well. I got a lot of good exercise out in the fresh air. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty darn good. And I may feel more inclined to help out in ways that I have before in 6 months after I've processed some things. But my God, I've helped a lot. I've helped a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I have to say this too, and I'm going to be real upfront about it. When we'd had that hard time getting into the country and it was time to get out of the country, I asked people if they would please grant us traveling mercies. And I was so tickled at how many people did that. Yeah, like 500 people granted us traveling mercies. I just thought that was so beautiful.
It is. It's totally beautiful.
So, the people that there are plenty of people that know me and love me, and I know them and love them more than maybe anybody would think. But there's an awful lot of people that are perfectly happy to take advantage of somebody else's goodwill to move forward their own agenda, to take credit for things that someone else has done. And I'm kind of done allowing that to happen.
Over it, huh? Well, good.
I'm kind of over it. Yep.
That's good.
I think so.
Yeah. I want you to get back to, planting, gardening, doing the things that feed you. When was the last time you just said, you know what, I'm going to go do something that makes me laugh? Yes, and that's another thing. One of the people that wished us traveling mercies said, I wish you unexpected joy. Mm. And the first thing that was two little twin girls seeing an airplane. We were at the airport in Edinburgh. They ran to the window and said, it's an airplane. And they were jumping up and down and squealing, and they were hugging each other. Oh, my gosh, look, it's an airplane. It's so big. It's so big. And then this little boy, who was obviously not part of that family, he came running up, and they were all hugged up together, jumping up and down, going, airplanes, airplanes, airplanes. And I thought back to that person who said, unexpected joy. And I thought, golly, if you can't see that as joy, and was that not unexpected? It was just beautiful. So every time, and it was mostly children, to be honest, every time some child would do something like, I'm in an airport, look at all these people, it's great, I would remember the unexpected joy. And it really did it lightened everything up. But also, it's infectious. When people around you are happy, you are happy. Yeah. And in Edinburgh, it's a tourist town, so they're kind of paid to be happy. Yeah. They're like happy and delighted, and it just reminded me that that's how people can be. Yeah. But we are not seeing very much of that. No, the atmosphere in this country, at least that I've observed, has noticeably declined in the last 3, 4, 5, 8 years, whatever you want to say, in the last little bit. So, no, I don't think that we are that happy, joyful country that we used to be. And not saying that we don't have big joy and people aren't happy, but for the most part, the national face of us is pretty disillusioned. My opinion only.
Yeah, well, it is. Well, and while we're talking about the national face, and much as I love talking about this trip, which was just the only sad part, the airports, air traffic right now, air travel is just a mess. I guess the only other sad thing was that I wanted to go up to Dundee to see my friend Mark. Yeah. And it just didn't work out. And so I didn't get to see him, and I'm sad about that.
Oh, Well, I don't know what to say.
Well, it's just, it was just sad, and I'll hope to get to see him next time.
Absolutely. I bet you will. I hope you get to go again real soon.
Well, we're trying to work out, me and that bunch of yahoos at Rent Adventures, we're trying to work out me leading a tour to Cornwall next year.
Oh.
And if that works out, then I'll be back next year. But my friend Terry, who's up in Kirkcaldy, he put us in the car and toured us around. It was pretty funny. He kept saying, "You got to come back sooner," because I've not been there in 7 years. He said, "You got to come back sooner. You got to come back sooner."
Is there a country or a place in the world that you haven't been that you really want to go?
Yes, I want to go down to the New Forest, which is in the south of England, and I also, and I've never been there, and I also want to go down to what they call the Jurassic Coast, that's on the south coast of England, and it's where they find a lot of dinosaur bones. So those are two places I've never been that I'd like to go. I think I've been most everywhere else. I mean, I've not been everywhere in Britain, but I've been to a lot of places.
Have you?
I'd be perfectly happy to just move over there and live.
Would you?
Oh, hell yes! In a in a Raleigh, North Carolina minute.
Is that because of the connection to your ancestors, or some other reason?
Because I like it there. I wouldn't want to live in London again. I lived there when I got out of college for a little while. I wouldn't want to live in a big city again, but yeah, I'd love to live in a small place, small sort of a village place. But like here, nobody can damn afford to live there because the real estate speculators are speculating all over that. Oh, but what I was going to say, sorry, I just jumped down a rabbit hole. I am a little jet laggy today, to be honest. I didn't get in till late last night.
You know, don't you, that we're coming up on Easter. Where there's lots of cool plastic eggs to get at the dollar store. And there's all kinds of good candy that you can pick up. That's what Easter kind of means to me. I'm sorry, and also the Good Friday Easter massacre at the cottage. It reminds me of that every year.
Boy, that was a good time, wasn't it?
Oh, hearing that poor little bunny get slaughtered was pretty awful, but knowing that it was getting carried over to the children's party next door by the cat that did it, I think that was funny, to tell you the truth.
That is not funny, and yeah, that's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, it is. Hey, I stopped by the cottage while you were out.
Oh, good. How was it?
It was, the plants were thirsty.
I bet.
Yeah, but other than that, everything was good. It looked like the cottage was super hard for me not to go sit on the porch for a while.
Oh.
But I would have, but I just didn't have time. But it's still a beautiful place. I walked in there and I was just like, oh my God, I about started crying.
Yeah. We need to get in there one day. I'm going to invite you over, and we're just going to open up all the windows and kind of air it out.
Yeah.
Get the big old wool blanket off the back door.
Yeah.
Mop the kitchen floor where the freezer is leaked.
And we'll do some stuff. Yeah, let's do.
Enjoy it. Have a cup of tea on the porch.
I'd love that. I would so love that. I miss that place like you just don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's close, and so I should go and sit on the porch more often. I should go over there and just say hello to the place every now and then. And I'm guilty of having not done enough of that this year or last year.
That is true, and that's one of the other things that I'm really going to spend some time making right.
Yeah,
and that is the things that I just keep putting off and putting off and putting off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm not, I've said more than once, I'm not going to live forever. And that's just the truth of it. But
not in your current physical body will transition.
Or at all, maybe. I mean, I don't know that. So, but I need to see people I need to see and visit with people I need to visit with. Lately, my whole response to everything is, why don't you just do some damn work? Maybe quit talking about it and maybe do something about it.
Maybe get out there and do something. That sounds pretty good.
That's how you can tell I've become an old woman for sure.
Well, because you speak your mind?
No, but because I'm always telling people to get to work. Get your lazy butt to work. It's crazy.
Well, hey, I hear they're coming after you. Can you hear it?
Is it the wee, 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 wee?
Yeah, well, it's the longer one. Wee! That one.
Oh, dear. I don't know who that's for. Maybe me.
Well, while you were gone, I finished up Disjointed series that I'd been kind of binging on.
Which one is that?
Disjointed, the one on Netflix I told you about. Yeah, and really don't have another one. I've been searching around. I found a series that was interesting for about the first time or two, and then after that, I was like, it's called How to Build a Sex Room. And
Oh my God.
Well, I was just interested because of the title as much as anything. And there's been, I looked at a couple of episodes of the history of swear words.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah. And I had a friend who talked me into, my friend had surgery and had shoulder surgery and can't move around much.
Yeah.
And they talked me into watching 2 or 3 movies now with them as instead of an activity. It was watching the movies, and one of them was it was with Sandra Bullock. It was, I guess, and she was it Sandra Bullock? She was a factory worker or something. Who? Sally Fields. Excuse me.
Oh God, yes.
And what was it?
Norma Ray.
Norma Ray. That was what it was called. I like that out of all of them the best. And then I also saw one that was called Pretty Woman Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts.
That's kind of all the old stuff.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of a chick flick. And then I saw another one called the Jewelry Box, I think was what it was called. And it was kind of an obscure movie from it looked to me to be the early 80s. And it was interesting. And then, they're interesting, but it's like, well, okay, I've seen my quota. And while I was sitting there doing that, Byron was tromping around all over Scotland.
I sure was. Seeing all the pretty sights, and it was so beautiful. Well, the weather was so beautiful. Everything was greening up.
I take it you drank some Guinness?
I did. I drank much Guinness.
Much Guinness.
I also drank another a beer that I'm very fond of called Tennant.
Tennant?
Which is, it's a Scottish one.
Never heard of it. That's interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's very good. So if it was a time when I'd had a really big breakfast and a big lunch, I did not have an entire pint of Guinness. Because it's just a lot. It's like food.
Isn't it a dark brown beer?
Very dark.
And is it considered a stout?
Pardon?
Is it considered a stout?
Yes, it is definitely the stout. So if I didn't have a whole one of those, I went ahead and had something else.
That's not. Did you do any pubs? Did you go to any pubs?
I'm just laughing that you even asked that question.
Oh.
First night we were there, we checked into our hotel and went to the pub.
Oh, good.
Because
that's perfect.
I had to.
Yeah, it was a law. It's a rule.
I tell you, I told myself that if I got through 2 airports and got to Philly, that I would have a big old drink somewhere in the airport. But by God, everything was so screwed up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That there was no time. I wished I could have had a big shot of something.
Well, you can have some now if you need to.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine has had a death in the family, so I I need to get off here and go buy some, I think, flowers,
Yeah,
or a plant for her.
I've got a few things to do myself, so I don't mind hanging up. Just going to go check on my friend a little bit and then go see my mom and all of that.
How's your mama doing?
She's doing fine. I think that she got a little nervous when we got the phone call about my little nephew's car wreck last night. But other than that,
gosh, of course she did.
But she didn't sound nervous. Unless you knew her, you would never know.
Well, that's terrifying. I'm so sorry.
Well,
sorry.
I know. I was thinking, how would it feel to be that person? Okay, now I can sympathize easily because it's my mom and I know her situation, but how many other people in the world are having a similar or worse situation where it's got to feel powerless? All three of her kids are going through things right now. And because she can't drive and she can't see, she is not able to get out there and go and help them. And I know she would want to. It's like with Kyle's accident, she probably would have been on her way to that place, or at least offered to. And it's the same with, the rest of it going on. So it's I thought about her and I had kind of a flash of sympathy about her situation last night when I was thinking about it. And she's taking it well.
Good for her. It makes me think, though, for all of us, there's going to come that point where we can't do anything physical about something.
Right.
We can't get in the car and run and do whatever.
Right. If we're lucky, we'll get that old,
Yeah. Oh, my God.
And the question is, are we going to rise up and meet that with grace and maybe a little intelligence and common sense? Or are we just going to bemoan it and wring our hands?
What do you think we're going to do?
I don't know.
A lot of whining and moaning and not doing any work.
I'll probably whine and moan some, but I hope I can meet it with some measure of grace. I think my mom has. I really do.
Your she is quite something, your mom.
Yeah, she is. I gotta agree with you on that. So and you know what? She has had already, now this is just trivia, but she's already had 2 ticks on her.
Yikes.
And she doesn't even go out much. I was telling Selby, and I told him the day after he had just spent 4 hours on his hands and knees crawling up the mountain to morel hunt.
Oh my God.
He didn't get a single tick on him. And here she is. She goes to maybe the back porch, maybe the front porch, and she's had 2 of them on her.
Well, she may be delicious to tick.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's probably what it is. Okay. Hey, here comes a spam call on my phone. And you reckon they're going to be saying nothing at all? Or
this is Charter, or this is...
all right. Spectrum. Spectrum calls fairly often. Let's see who it is. Nah, they ain't going to talk to us.
They don't want an answering machine. They don't want to leave a message.
They want to figure out how they can scam you out of something.
I know it. They always, that's been going on forever. I remember 1987, I had to go to Social Security office and get my last name changed and all of that mess. I soon after got a letter from AARP saying, you've lived through 2 world wars and the worst famine or worst depression we've ever known, and you deserve to join AARP. And I was like, I'm 23.
I will join it maybe in about 30 years.
Yeah.
That might work.
You deserve a strong voice in politics. I think that was how they were trying to get you to join it.
And actually, I do deserve that, but I ain't got one. The strong voice in politics belongs to the people who are crazy as jackrabbits.
Well, people would argue that you or me or both of us are crazy, but that doesn't mean we don't deserve to be represented.
That is exactly true. But do we have to be represented by crazy people? That's the question.
maybe
it has
not.
To be like for like. So if you're pretty crazy, you get a pretty crazy rep.
I guess.
Pretty boring, you get a pretty boring rep.
Yeah, I reckon so. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go because otherwise I'll just keep you on the phone here.
Because I got to get going. I got laundry to put out, and I've got, I hope it'll get dry today. And then I've got to run out to get a plant and do some other stuff. I'm just trying to keep myself awake so that the jet lag doesn't hit me.
I was getting ready to say, aren't you going to give yourself a little extra nap today or something?
No, you can't do that. I mean, that's not the way I do it. You just keep hydrating, pushing on. Then I go to bed maybe an hour early tonight.
Okay.
And then by tomorrow, I'm gonna be just fine.
Good.
I reckon.
Yep, I reckon. Well, get a hold of me whenever you want to, and let's figure out, what our game plan is for the next few weeks.
Sounds good.
I want to talk about a trip to the Foxfire Museum.
Yes, let's do that. Let's go ahead and plan it.
All right. Well, listen, I'll let you go.
Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you for hanging out, Byron. I'm glad to talk to you. Hey, thank you for spending your time with us here at Wyrd Mountain Gals. We sure do appreciate it. I know time is the most important thing we have, so I promise that if you take your time to listen to us, we'll take our time to continue to be weird. Many thanks to Sunslice Records for all the help. We couldn't do it without you, Craig. Check out our social media for information, community, or a few laughs. WYRD Mountain Gals.